1.38. Historical research tells us these numbers are impossible to reverse. In a matter of years, Europe as we know it will cease to exist. Yet the population of Europe is not declining. Why? Immigration. Islamic immigration. Of all population growth in Europe since 1990, 90% has been Islamic immigration. France, 1.8 children per family. Muslims, 8.1. In southern France, traditionally one of the most populated church regions in the world, there are now more mosques than churches. 30% of children ages 20 and younger are Islamic. In the larger cities such as Nice, Marseille, and Paris, that number has grown to 45%. By 2027, 1 in 5 Frenchmen will be Muslim. In just 39 years, France will be an Islamic republic. In the last 30 years, the Muslim population of Great Britain rose from 82,000 to 2.5 million, a 30-fold increase. There are over 1,000 mosques, many of them former churches. In the Netherlands, 50% of all newborns are Muslim, and in only 15 years, half of the population of the Netherlands will be Muslim. In Russia, there are over 23 million Muslims. That's 1 out of 5 Russians. 40% of the entire Russian army will be Islamic in just a few short years. Muammar al-Gaddafi of Libya said, "There are signs that Allah will grant victory to Islam in Europe, without swords, without guns, without conquest. We don't need terrorists. We don't need homicide bombers. The 50-plus million Muslims in Europe will turn it into a Muslim continent within a few decades." In the United States, the current fertility rate of American citizens is 1.6. With the influx of the Latino nations, the rate increases to 2.11, the bare minimum required to sustain a culture. In 1970, there were 100,000 Muslims in America. Today, there are over 9 million. The world is changing. It's time to wake up. 3 years ago, a meeting of 24 Islamic organizations was held in Chicago. The transcripts of that meeting showed in detail their plans to evangelize America through journalism, politics, education, and more. They said, "We must prepare ourselves for the reality that in 30 years, there will be 50 million Muslims living in America." Some studies show that at Islam's current rate of growth, in 5 to 7 years, it will be the dominant religion of the world.
Immigration. I talk to some American about immigration. They look at me and say, "Who do you think you are? You are an immigrant yourself. This is a country of immigration. You're Egyptian. How long have you been in this country?" I said, 20 years. So why not Muslims? See, you have not read the Quran. You do not know what comes with immigration. Let's read what Allah said in the Quran. Quran chapter 2, verse 218. By the way, you can read it also in Quran chapter 3, verse 195, Quran chapter 4, verse 100, Quran chapter 8, verse 72 and 74 and 75, Quran chapter 9, verse 20, 16, 110, and on and on and on. Same verse is repeated all over the Quran. And every time Allah mentioned immigration, there is another word go with it. Listen carefully. Surely those who have believed and those who immigrated and performed jihad. I have no problem for Christian, atheist, agnostic, Buddhist, some other cult in the world to move to America, and we have immigration. But I have a problem of Muslim to immigrate to America, because when Muslims come to America, they come with jihad. First time I met with the FBI, I felt so good. I mean, literally the night before I'm going to meet with the FBI, I was so, literally, my brain was going in a circle. Here, I'm going to meet with the FBI. I'm going to tell them about this. I'm going to tell them about that. That was exactly 8-9 years ago. And then I met with him again. And then I met with another guy. And I found out it's waste of my time. I stopped meeting with FBI. You know why? Because I found out they know everything I want to tell them. They just choose not to look at it. Listen to this very important interview.
We're here in Washington today to speak to a Department of Defense analyst and counterterrorism official who, requesting anonymity, has made some very remarkable charges. Charges that both the political and the military structure of the highest levels of our government are infiltrated by the very agents of the enemy against which we find ourselves fighting today. Well, you were given an assignment from the Joint Chiefs, essentially from the upper levels of the Pentagon, to understand what the Islamic jihadi enemy's ideology and operational methods might be. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. What did you discover?
Well, I was expecting to find that, there was some basis to the jihadi arguments that jihad is warfare, that there were competing arguments, and that we could probably leverage these competing arguments, but that because they were claiming Islamic law as the basis for their action, we had to start there. And over a long period of time, I ended up collecting a large body of Islamic law, enormous amount of it available in English, and realized that if Islamic law is the criteria by which you measure legitimacy or illegitimacy, you can't show that the moderates have a doctrinal basis to the position they hold, and you can't show that on the statement of the law, the radicals are wrong. I was expecting to find competing views that had some merit. I was expecting to find that the moderate view would be the dominant view, and we would have to figure out these and how to make these arguments so that the people in the Middle East would know what it was, and could not find it. Now, I could find that you're not allowed to fight a jihad you can't win, and that's a limiting factor. But when you get to actually what published Islamic law says, it supports the radicals in what they say.
15 years ago, the man spent 15 years, so the other gentleman was the FBI, and they dig into the law, the Islamic law, and they found out there's no support whatsoever to the idea that there is such a thing as called moderate Islam. And the radical are not radical. They're just Muslim believers who practice what Allah told them to do and what Muhammad told them to do, as we just read in the Quran and the Hadith. Keep going. Let's get to the next one.
Can you start by giving me a quick thumbnail of your professional experience?
I spent nearly 15 years working in the government with a primary expertise on the Islamic movement in the United States, the Muslim-Brotherhood, and Islamic doctrine.
And which department did you work for?
FBI.
You assert that we're getting many of our cues on how to react to this terrorist threat from the Muslim-Brotherhood, that essentially we're letting our enemy tell us how to fight them. Now, I think this is a critical point that we really need to make clear. Is this speculation on your part, or is this credible, factual information that you've been able to obtain as a former special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation?
It's all factual information, and it's open for the public to digest if they so desire. These documents from the Holy Land Foundation trial are available online. All you need to do is Google Holy Land Foundation. And
May I ask a question here first? How many of you have heard the statement or the word Holy Land Foundation trial? Why is that? You need to go online tonight and just find it and save it and read it tomorrow. Holy Land Foundation trial. This is how we know that our government are betraying us for the love of the Muslim. They know everything they need to know about Islam 15 years ago, that is 3 years or more before September 11, and they did nothing to protect us. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be on the screen here 30 different organizations. They're running in this country right now as a non-profit organization, just exactly like your church. And all these organizations are jihadist organizations, radical organization, Muslim, true Muslim believer organization. And not one person in our government will stop them. Because you don't know anything about it and just let go. That's FBI is telling us about that.
The documents also showed that every major Muslim organization in the United States is a Muslim Brotherhood front, specifically the most prominent organizations. The two most prominent organizations in the United States, or three most prominent, are the Muslim Public Affairs Council, Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, and ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America. CAIR is a Hamas entity. It is Hamas. And ISNA is a huge financial entity for Hamas in the United States. And CAIR and ISNA are the two groups that the U.S. government, including the FBI, DOD, State Department, DHS, look to and utilize to do their outreach with the Muslim community in America.
How exactly do these radical Muslim groups use their connections to suppress the defenses of the United States against these type of activities?
At the national level, with the FBI and DHS, they actually are invited in by General Counsel's Office of the FBI and DHS to sit in on brainstorming about investigative techniques that FBI agents are using in the field.
I have to stop you because, frankly, that sounds so absurd that I have to really make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Are you saying that the radicalized Muslim groups are invited in to learn our investigative techniques, that they are invited in to get their feedback on how we are going to fight against them? Is that what I understood you to say?
Yes. So, for instance, in the FBI, the General Counsel of the FBI, Valerie Caproni, invited these Muslim organizations, as well as the ACLU and other groups in, to make sure that the investigative techniques and the Attorney General guidelines and the way the FBI was going to implement the Attorney General guidelines was okay and not offensive to these organizations.
We're worried about the feelings of the Muslims. So we got some moderate Muslim who are sitting in every branches in America, in our government, in every branches, because they're just moderate Muslim. They're good Muslims. I told you earlier, there's no such a thing as moderate Muslim because there's no moderate Islam. One of these guys is this guy here, nice looking guy. Look at him. He's standing next to some infidel lady. She's not covering hijab. She's showing her face. He have a smile on his face. He's wearing glasses, a shirt, and a jacket, pants. I mean, he looked like a moderate Muslim to me. Don't you think so? Nice looking guy. By the way, we pay this guy, Eric Holder, write him a check for $5,000 to go speak in the Pentagon. Same guy. Because he's a moderate Muslim. And we believed him. He's given us what we call sensitive training. We make sure that we learn from him about the loving, peaceful Islam and how we should treat Muslims in the West, here in America. Then, whoa, what happened? He changed his clothes, ladies and gentlemen. He's no longer moderate. You see, if you wear a suit and a tie, like CAIR, you see them on Fox News all the time, on Sean Hannity's show and Bill O'Reilly's show, these are moderate Muslims. If you take your suit and your tie off and you replace it with a Yemeni clothes with the sword around your waist, now you're a jihadist. Same guy will give $5,000 to speak in our Pentagon to our intelligence.
On September 30th, 2011, Awlaki was targeted by a U.S. unmanned aircraft and killed in a rocket strike.
We just spent few hundred thousands of dollars, if not millions, to kill him. Same guy. I dare Eric Holder, I dare any intelligent in this country to meet me with any moderate Muslim. And in 10 minutes, I'll assure you, I will prove to you 100% that this moderate Muslim is not. Not an hour, 10 minutes. I'm just going to ask him or her to read me a couple of verses from the Quran.
I've spoken to several other intelligence analysts who have said that the political weather has changed so much with this new administration that I've spoken to intelligence professionals who've said that they actually fear the current Attorney General more than they fear the people that they're trying to defeat. So what effect does this have on you and other lifelong intelligence and counterterrorism agents?
There is a gross ignorance, even at the street level, in the FBI and DHS to what we're talking about. First, because there is no training and education program in the counterintelligence community, U.S. government-wide.